Legal judgment questions the massive payments to women sacked from the services for becoming pregnant. 2 priceless Turner paintings lent by Britain are stolen in Germany. And England's cricket captain says he's not going to quit. Good evening. In the most emphatic terrorist response since Sinn Féin's rejection of the Downing Street Declaration, 3 mortar bombs were today fired without warning at a Northern Ireland police station. 2 soldiers who were inside are tonight seriously ill in hospital. There were nearly 40 other casualties, mostly among civilians outside the base. The attack, widely believed to be the work of the IRA, happened in Newry in County Down, close to the border with the Irish Republic. The police station was hit by 2 mortar bombs fired from the back of a lorry parked nearby. A third landed in the street at the height of the morning rush hour.
Mortar attacks are notoriously inaccurate, so it was no wonder that one of the 3 bombs fired at the Edward Street Police and Army base should have missed and fallen in an adjoining street. It exploded, wrecking an electrical store and injuring shoppers and business people.
We just shouted for everybody to get out off our own premises there, which was decided there, and we run out in the street. As we run out in the street, the second one went off, and there was a hail of glass come down all around. We just kept running into the bottom of the street. The third one went off as well.
The mortar bombs were launched across shops and offices from a lorry parked not far from the security base. The army sent in a robot device to examine the vehicle. Both the police and politicians said it was no thanks to the bombers that the casualties weren't more severe.
The devil must be implanted in their mind, because no person could sit down and plan an attack without knowing that there would be civilian casualties.
At the hospital where clergymen visited the injured, there were harsh words, not just for the bombers, but for the government too.
I would appeal to the government that have a responsibility for us to do what they said they would do in December. Then we were told that if people rejected the peace process, the full rigours of all of the powers that the government had at its disposal would indeed be turned against these people. I can see no real clampdown with regard to security. I'm convinced of this, that when a government makes a promise, they should keep that promise.
But the Northern Ireland Secretary, who arrived this afternoon to see the damage for himself, put the blame firmly at the terrorists' door and rejected criticism of current security policy.
If it had been the case that the security forces, the Chief Constable, the security forces, had been holding anything back since the joint declaration, that would have been quite unjustifiable. And it's not the case. Nothing has been held back, nothing will be held back.
The Edward Street base was the target of an IRA mortar attack in 1985, when 9 police officers were killed. That attack was the single biggest loss the RUC has suffered in the Troubles. Coming within a week of Sinn Féin's rejection of key elements in the Downing Street Declaration, this attack will further deepen gloom in Northern Ireland about the prospects for progress and prompt more people to ask how much longer Republicans can go on matching words of peace with acts of violence. Mark Devonport, BBC News, Newry.
Large compensation payments to former servicewomen who were sacked for being pregnant were manifestly excessive, according to a judgment by the Employment Appeal Tribunal. The Ministry of Defence had appealed against awards to 7 women, which run into hundreds of thousands of pounds. Of 5,000 women who can apply for compensation, more than 2,000 have already settled. 40% were awarded under £20,000 and 45% were given between £20,000 and £50,000. But 13% have been awarded between £50,000 and £200,000 and 2% have had more than £200,000. Those awards still stand, but future payments are likely to be smaller.
Every year, Gillian SKELLON takes her son John to see the Royal Tournament in London. She maintains this link with the forces of the Crown, even though it was the Army which put an end to her military career 14 years ago, when she announced that John was on the way. The Minister of Defence wrongly sacked her and around 5,000 other pregnant servicewomen, most of whom have taken legal action. The government was worried about the amounts of compensation being awarded by industrial tribunals, more than £16 million so far, and brought 7 test cases to the Employment Appeal Tribunal. One of those was Mrs. SKELLON's. She heard today that she'll keep her award of £24,000. When the final figures are worked out, it's likely that most of the other 7 won't be substantially worse off either.
I'm really, really happy my particular case has been successful, and the other ladies, I feel just so sorry for them that they've lost some of their money. I know they've not lost all of it, but they've lost some that they were hoping to get.
In 1978, it became unlawful under European law to sack pregnant servicewomen. But it wasn't until 1991 that the Minister of Defence admitted it had acted unlawfully for 12 years. In 1993, the European Court effectively abolished the £11,000 compensation limit. And that's led to record levels of compensation. A former major was awarded almost £300,000 in April. NICHOLA CANNOCK served in the Falklands War as a flight engineer. Because Minister of Defence lawyers didn't put the correct arguments before the Industrial Tribunal in her case, Mrs CANNOCK can keep most of the £173,000 she was awarded.
A lot of women, like me, love their jobs, and no compensation can make up for the jobs that we have lost for our careers in the services. We wanted to serve our country. We loved the job we were doing, and unfortunately that's been denied us.
The Minister of Defence had more reason to welcome the guidelines laid down for future cases, though these won't actually be binding on industrial tribunals.
The Employment Appeal Tribunal said that through no fault of their own, some industrial tribunals had been persuaded to make awards of compensation which were manifestly excessive. Local tribunals needed to keep a due sense of